Saturday, 29th January 2022. To present the news, my name is Priscilla Muziamba. A quick look at the stories making headlines. The Electoral Commission of Zambia rebrands. Death toll in the Pemba Road accident rises to 17. A bridge in the U.S. city of Pittsburgh has collapsed with 6 vehicles, including a bus on it at the time. Italian President Sergio Mattarella has agreed to serve a second term after coalition parties failed to agree on a compromise candidate for the office. And Singapore Grand Prix to remain on Formula One calendar through 2028. And now the news in detail. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has unveiled a new brand identity. The new brand identity has seen the electoral management body change its logo and tagline. The commission unveiled its new brand identity at a function that was held at Radisson Blu Hotel in Lusaka. ECZ Chairperson Justice Esau Chulu, in a speech read on his behalf by Commissioner Emily Sikazwe, said the commission is ushering itself into a new era to rebrand and reposition itself strategically into the future. Justice Chulu said the Commission's new brand will open a new chapter in its continued journey of transformation.
Today's unveiling of our new brand speaks to our commitment to continue innovating our processes in order to remain relevant and appealing in this modern era, but also to bring about issues to do with efficiency in the electoral process and enhance integrity of that which we do as a commission. Today we announce the launch of our new corporate brand identity, a redesigned logo and enhanced colors. These changes come at a time when the Commission is evolving in its operations and indeed repositioning itself in the world. Like I said, there has been a lot of changes when you look at the way electoral management bodies are conducting elections across the world. And we also need to ensure that as a Commission, we continue innovating. Last year, we successfully conducted the general elections whilst introducing new technologies in our electoral operations. Along with the technological advancements in our operations, we are rolling out a new branding effort to reflect, among others, our growth and, more importantly, the changes in the digital space. With this, we envision a rapid changes, and our brand has been updated to reflect our forward-thinking focus. So, ladies and gentlemen, look out for the Commission this year.
The death toll in the Pemba Road accident, which occurred on Thursday involving a bus belonging to the United Church of Zambia, UCZ, of Mamba in Sinazongwe District, Southern Province, has risen to 17. This follows the death of 3 more victims at Monze Mission Hospital, where they were admitted for treatment. The UCZ-owned bus carrying 35 passengers from Mamba was involved in a head-on collision with a frontliner truck in Pemba on their way to Lusaka, claiming 14 lives, including the bus driver, on the spot. The accident happened when the driver of a Rosa commuter bus belonging to the United Church of Zambia, UCZ, coming from Mamba to Lusaka, collided with a frontliner cargo truck coming from the opposite direction. Monze Hospital Medical Superintendent Dr. Eugene Kaunda said that out of the 7 victims who were in critical condition, 3 have died. Dr. Kaunda says 5 victims were discharged on Friday, while 13 others are still admitted to Monze Mission Hospital and are in a stable condition. The head-on collision involving a Rosa minibus and a heavy-duty truck in Pemba occurred around 4:30 hours on a wet road following a downpour. The minibus, which had 36 people on board, was coming from Mamba and en route to Lusaka and is a property of the United Church of Zambia. And in international news, a bridge in the U.S. city of Pittsburgh has collapsed with 6 vehicles, including a bus on it at the time. Officials said 10 people sustained minor injuries, 3 of whom were taken to hospital. The snow-covered Forbes Avenue bridge gave way on Friday morning, sometime after 6 a.m. Fire Chief Darrell Jones said first responders used ropes longer than 30 meters and formed human chains to pull victims to safety. Search dogs and drones were spotted at the scene. The collapse happened just hours before President Joe Biden visited the area to talk about infrastructure, reports the BBC.
Breaking news now out of Pennsylvania. A bridge collapsed in Pittsburgh this morning. A few vehicles, including a bus, were on that bridge when it crumbled. Rescuers had to rappel nearly 150 feet, while others formed a human chain to rescue people dangling from that bus there. 10 people were injured. A natural gas line also severed in this collapse, but emergency crews were able to shut that off. It's not known what caused the collapse, but it came hours before President Biden was set to visit the city to discuss, of all things, his $1 trillion infrastructure bill. White House officials say they're grateful to the first responders in Pittsburgh, that the president's visit will continue as scheduled.
Still in international news, Italian President Sergio Mattarella has agreed to serve a second term after coalition parties failed to agree on a compromise candidate for the office. The 80-year-old emerged as the most popular choice after 6 days of often tense voting in Rome. He had expressed a desire to leave office, but local media reported that Prime Minister Mario Draghi had convinced him to stay for the stability of Italy. Announcing Mr. Mattarella's decision to remain in office, Minister for Regional Affairs Maria Stella Gelmini held the former Constitutional Court judge's sense of responsibility and his attachment to the country and its institutions. The parties in Italy's governing coalition agreed to re-elect Mr. Mattarella after 7 rounds of voting failed to produce an alternative candidate and revealed deep divisions in Mr. Draghi's wide-ranging coalition government.
After 6 days and 8 rounds of voting, the Italian parliamentarians and those regional delegates have picked Sergio Mattarella to serve his second 7-year term as president of Italy. Now, after he reached that 505 threshold in terms of the votes, all the parliamentarians that had gathered there broke into a very long applause. Now, this comes after a week of deadlocked elections, political stalemate, both sides of the aisle, the centre-left bloc as well as the centre-right, could not agree on a candidate with broad support. Now, the leaders of the ruling parties in the end appeared to rally around what was the status quo, essentially. Mattarella in the role as president and Mario Draghi keeping his position as prime minister. There was concern that if Mario Draghi became the president, as it is believed he wanted to, that would result in snap elections. And many parliamentarians not too happy about that idea because concerned perhaps that they may possibly lose their job.
And finally, in sports news, the Singapore Grand Prix will remain on the Formula One schedule until at least 2028 after the track signed an extension to their contract. The Marina Bay Street Circuit returns to the calendar in 2022 after both the 2020 and 2021 races were cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. It will host its latest night race on 2nd October, a week after the Russian Grand Prix and a week before the Japanese Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel took his last win for Scuderia Ferrari the last time Formula One raced in Singapore back in 2019, while Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen completed the podium. Vettel has scored the most wins at the track with 5, one more than Lewis Hamilton, while Fernando Alonso and Nico Rosberg are the only other drivers to stand on top of the podium there. Singapore hosted the first ever night race in Formula One history back in 2008, and Stefano Domenicali, the CEO of Formula One, has welcomed the extension to the contract with the venue up until the end of 2028.
With the return of F1 to Singapore, the city-state will be one of Asia's few representatives on the race calendar. Coupled with a pivot to sustainable practices, analysts believe this puts the Republic in pole position to capture opportunities from Asia's growing middle class. But uncertainties over travel remain with COVID-19. It's also unclear how the pandemic will affect race programming, although organizers say they will refine and implement appropriate protocols for health and safety. When the Singapore Grand Prix was previously held here, this F1 pit building was the race centre, where drivers would come to do pit stops, to change tyres and to refuel. But now this building is currently a COVID-19 medical facility, and it's unclear how this area will evolve to meet the upcoming races requirements. Singapore has attracted more than 550,000 unique international visitors and some $1.5 billion in incremental tourism receipts since the 2008 debut of the night race.
As we end the news, a recap of stories making headlines. The Electoral Commission of Zambia rebrands. Death toll in the Pemba Road accident rises to 17. A bridge in the U.S. city of Pittsburgh has collapsed with 6 vehicles, including a bus on it at the time. Italian President Sergio Mattarella has agreed to serve a second term after coalition parties failed to agree on a compromise candidate for the office. And Singapore Grand Prix to remain on Formula One calendar through 2028. On that note, we've come to the end of the news. My name is Priscilla Muziamba. God bless.